Hey, howdy, hey, and welcome to this episode of the Lone Star Halo podcast with me, Fernando the Lone Star Halo. That's Todd Fox. We are going to talk about all that's good in the Angels sphere and how happy we are that Perry decided to go all in on this clearly competitive team. Todd, hit the intro.
One, two, three, go! From Texas to Anaheim, we're bringing the heat. Don and Fernando got the news every week. Walk-off strikeouts, who's making a name? Who's in the clutch and who's taking the blame? Lone Star Halo, fucking baseball, here we go. Big hats, bad goals, who's gonna rise and who's gonna fall?
Hey, welcome in everybody to the Lone Star Halo show. I'm one of the co-hosts, Todd Fox, along with the star of the show, Lone Star Halo. How are you doing, man? It's good to have another show with you here. It's been a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been a while. I know we joked about it a little bit on the top there, but it's definitely been frustrating to see the Angels play the last couple weeks. Hasn't been a lot of Stukas, been a lot of Savage Gardens, not even any Buttercups, really.
Yeah, you know what? I don't like your attitude right now. Don't you know that we're competitive? I mean, I'm we're so
What was your reaction when Perry said that? Well, we're clearly competitive. It wasn't even the fact that he said, "I think this team can compete." This mother effer said, "We're clearly competitive."
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to someone posting a picture from, I guess, the game one loss to Cincinnati, showing Perry leaning over the
Yeah.
the press box, just totally frustrated. You could almost say, and caption it, "Yeah, we're competitive." Oh God, no, we're not.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
against the Dodgers, bro, we talked about this ad nauseum because I think we had some of our best memes and commentary and back and forth with Angel Dodger fans. That was a fun 3 game stretch. If he meant, hey, the Angels will be competitive against the Dodgers, he was totally right. But against everybody else,
Yeah, dude, for all those Dodger fans who are like, "Oh, well, hey, we'll see you guys in the playoffs." Man, you guys are lucky you won't see us in the playoffs because we would wax that ass. We really would.
that's
But
true.
yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot's hold them back. I think a lot of things have held them back, I should say. And you have
absolutely.
a lot of um, you know, everyone has their own theory. Mine has been analytics. I still think that they're not this bad and they're not that good. I think they could be somewhere in the middle if they were to incorporate some small ball and some better play, some better decision making. I mean, there's something wrong with every facet of this team, unfortunately, because it could come down to the managing too. The players, like look at Renifo and Taylor Ward's effort the other night. There's some things where again this team will light it up and you'll be like, hey, they have turned the corner. You get your honk ready, I get my honk ready, we get a little excited, we pull within 5 or 4 games of the wild card, and then we just go right backwards again. And I don't even want to look at the standings because it doesn't matter anymore. And then you get into a position, Fernando. We'll probably talk about it later, but this one's been bothering me the last couple of days since they announced it. Getting rid of just shedding Brogdon for money. Like it feels like 2023 again, when we were just shedding guys to not pay salaries.
Yeah, just in case you were like, well, maybe there's some hope. They're 7 games out of a wild card spot. So
With how
hey,
many?
they're also 8.5 out of the division. So
Yeah, well, they have to jump like half the league to get back into a wild card spot.
yeah. Hey, so you're saying there's a chance. They don't have the E there yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been a disappointing couple weeks. I don't know why the Angels continuously play the Cincinnati Reds like they're the 1998 New York Yankees.
My God.
They haven't beat them since literally before COVID. 2019 was the last. Jaime Barria was on the mound the last time the Angels beat the Cincinnati Reds. What the heck?
Dude, I don't know if you remember the first series of the season, or when we did our prediction show, I should say. Remember, I said, hey, because we were talking about certain series that we were looking forward to. Me and you agreed on the Dodgers. You picked out like a series or two that you're intrigued about. You want to see the Angels play. I picked out the Reds because I was like, dude, last couple of years since they've done the whole full schedule thing, we're 0-6 against them. Like I want some payback against the Reds. Like, we got to beat the Reds. Lo and behold, look what happens. We're about to get swept again.
Yeah, and it's crazy. They don't have any like world beaters over there. Like nobody. I mean, yeah, Ellie De La Cruz, great player, very talented player. I mean, if we're having a fantasy draft and I could take one player from any team, Ellie De La Cruz is pretty high on that priority list. I think for
Absolutely.
most people, he's pretty high. You know, if you're picking like number 8-ish, that's probably the guy you're looking at. Very talented ball player, but nobody. They don't have a prime Mike Trout over there. They don't
Nope.
have a any Paul Skeens up there on the bump. They have Hunter Green or whatever. Talented young kid, but nobody who's quite to that level yet. Besides that, who do you have over there? Key Brian Hayes.
Yeah, that was just a late addition. I think it comes down to what is it? The manager? What's his name from Boston?
Terry Francona.
Yeah, Francona's over there. I mean but then again, they did it the last 2 years without Francona. So I mean,
Yeah, the Reds are a team that, in theory, should be good in a couple of years. I mean, we said the same thing about the Nationals. The Nationals are kind of in the same spot we are in.
mhm.
They have a lot of good pieces that they could potentially build a winner. And I think the Reds will eventually get to that caliber again because the mid 2000s, the 2010s, when you had the Vados and when Raisel Iglesias was just getting started and, Aroldis Chapman, the Reds were a good team for a couple of years there. They were, a perennial playoff contender. Those days have definitely left them for a little while, but I think the Reds are trending in the right direction. It's just I don't know what it is. They cannot beat that team. A team that they can't lose to, the Dodgers, essentially followed by a team they can't beat, the Reds. And then we'll
Yeah.
talk about the Sacramento series.
No, that was embarrassing too. I mean, a team that you had swept going into that series, and you come off such a freaking high. And they try to use the excuse on the propaganda machine, the AMA 30, saying, oh, well, they had the day off. That stops the momentum. I don't think so. I think stopping the momentum, what we've seen a lot this season, is when the team takes two of the first two games of a series before an off date, and they proceed to put a crap lineup out there, not really try to win it. They lose it, and then they have 2 days to think about a loss. So I don't think that kills momentum. I just think they took the A's not seriously, number one. And number two, if you look at their at bats in the Dodgers series, their approach and their aggressiveness in the strike zone as pitching, it was completely different when they went into Sacramento. I mean, it looked like they went back to all their bad habits. Like there was just no urgency, like the free swinging all of a sudden, not being patient. The pitching was nibbling around the strike zone, and he already had bad umpires. And then you come into this series, and all they're talking about is, boy, the power off the Reds bats and the exit velocity. And the pitchers are making their pitches, but the Reds are just dinking and dunking them. They're taking whatever the pitchers give them, and then the Angels are just doing the free swinging crap again. So, Fernando, I mean, it is so frustrating to be an Angels fan right now, dude. It is really frustrating. We talked about it on the post game. If this team can ever do what you said, like with the Reds and the Nationals, get to that next level, just get in the tournament. I mean, we'd probably riot in the streets of Anaheim.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this fan base is so hungry for winning baseball that you and I have said many times over the last couple of years, we are okay with punting, waving the white flag, giving up on a season. We wanted this organization to go all out. Oh, you're giving us a mulligan to bring all of our chips away from the center? Yeah, let's do that. You know what I mean? Let's just kind of punt on the year. Let's just defer. You got to know when to hit them and when to fold them. And this organization just never does either. 2023, they went all in, right? Chips were in the center. They borrowed chips from the guy playing next to him, their buddy. And then Artie was like, "Oh, just playing. I need some of that money back." and his buddy was like, "Wait, I let you borrow. No, it's mine now. Yeah, that's what happened. That's why they cut those guys to try to save a couple quarters where they could. And it's crazy. But you know what? Once again, that was a year that at least there was a direction. And for any Angels fan who says, "Oh, well, that was such a bad decision at the time." No, in 2023, we were all celebrating. Yes, we got Lucas Giolito. Yes, we got Eduardo Escobar, CJ Cron, Randall Grichuk, blah, 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 blah. But the point is that year, there was a clear path. They were going all in. They were committed. I'm tired of this crap, Todd, where really every year but 2023 that we've had this podcast, we'll do something, but we're not going to do a lot. In 2021, it was they got rid of Andrew Heaney. That was great, but nothing really came of it.
Yeah.
2022, that was the year they traded away Raisel Iglesias.
I believe so.
2023, we already mentioned what happened there. 2024, you had the Garcia trade. You had the why am I blanking? Estevez trade. And then this year you got what? Oswald Peraza.
Yeah, that's about it.
And then you got Andrew Chafin and Luis Garcia again.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of my definition of not really doing anything. You did something to say you did something, but you didn't really do something. It's kind of like for anybody who watches reality TV, my girlfriend and I love it. Not a fiance. I know you watch a little bit of that. Those people go to like marriage counseling. They go to one session and then they never go back again just to say they went to marriage counseling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's what the Angels do. They have a toxic relationship with us, their partners. You know what I mean? We are their partners. It's a very, very toxic relationship. They're terrible to us, but we keep running back. They changed. They learned. But at the end of the day, we went to one marriage session and hey, it's going to be better now. We worked it out.
Yeah, and again, like I was talking to my dad the other day, and he's like, "Well, what's going to happen with Artie?" I said, "I don't know. It could be a big thing in the off season, or it could be a huge nothing burger. It's either going to be one or the other. So we have to see what happens. There's really no telling which direction this team's going to go. They gave us another blank stare kind of year, and it's just a ho hum. Let's work through it, buy our stuff, come to the ballpark, get a free giveaway. Don't forget to buy more stuff." But it's been a hard watch because you want to, you get a little glimpse of hope, and then Ohapi, gets into a rut, and you're like, man, if they just switch up his swing, he'd be so much better. But then you see Simo come in there, and you're like, okay, you can see this guy. And you see a nice season by Neto, nice season by Ward and other players. Adele finally putting it together, and you're like, man, if we just get some pitching, because every now and then Soriano looks like an ace. Kikuchi can give you some innings, but then he can't, and so. It's been frustrating because we knew before the All-Star break, after getting phone call, after getting messages, emails, who are they going to trade for? Are we buyers or sellers? And they waited till like 11:59 before they started probably taking phone calls because they really didn't have a plan, like you said. And we're sitting here as fans just frustrated because we know this team could have either just been got rid of a lot of those pieces just to get some bodies in the organization would have helped. And then if you're not going to do that, go all in, get some players. But they did neither, like you said.
Yeah, and this team does need some long, sustainable pieces. If they would have gotten a guy like Keith Brian Hayes at third base, you know what? That's a hole that I think needs to be filled, right? Young, controllable guy, a lot of potential, has yet to really come into his own, but has shown enough to, he's a respected player. He could be part of the young core. He can grow with the young core. Moves like that, I would have been okay with, right? You would have had to give up a little bit in the farm system, maybe give up a little bit of your pitching depth. But you know what? We don't have any third basemen in the pipeline that are immediately available, so I can justify that. You know what I mean? Those are the kind of moves that I want to see the Angels make because we're going to talk. We have tons of time to talk about next off season. There really isn't a lot of people that are available that are good. The top three guys that are potentially available have some form of option, either club or player. Alex Bregman, Pete Alonso, Cody Bellinger. The first non-restricted free agent you have is Jordan Montgomery, and pass.
Yeah.
I mean, the most desirable unrestricted free agents that I can see just right now off the jump. JT Realmuto, we already have Logan O'Hoppe, so unless you're moving O'Hoppe positions or trading him. Nick Martinez, starting pitcher from the Reds, maybe. And then you get to guys like Kyle Schwarber, Starling Marte.
I actually think that the Angels, and this is my Halo hot take a couple days early. I actually think they go international and get a third baseman. Um, I think we go to Japan or Korea or possibly Dominican and grab a third baseman. Someone balls out in the WBC and we sign them.
Hey, maybe. I mean, and that's the thing. I don't mind crazy moves like that because at the end of the day, you're not gonna overpay for that.
No,
These are just guys who you could potentially take a chance on, and it's not going to hurt you long term. Low risk, high reward, right? See, I don't mind those type of signings. It's these big splash, sexy names, these Rendon, Hamiltons that have caused the Angels issues in the past.
yeah,
That's what I
because
have objected to.
no, I'm 100% with you right there because the reason why I bring up the international too is because unless you're a guy coming out of like Japan, like a Yamamoto or something like that, that have had a few years down there in the Japan league where they're proven in a way, you're able to get with most of these international signings a player for maybe like 2 years, 24 million, something very friendly. You're not going to be paying no 100 million, 200 million for a pitcher because these guys are trying to get their foot in the league. So they'll sign like a 2-3 year deal because of all that American money, and you can get them pretty affordable. And then if they work out, yeah, you extend them. If not, you let them go. And it's not that bad of you're probably spending less on a player like that than you would a veteran like Kenley Jansen if you were to sign him for 3 years. So that's where I would see the Angels doing if they're not really wanting to do what you said. And then with a weak free agent class, like you said, coming up here, um, the only way I would dip into free agency, Fernando, is if there was a bunch of C-level players we could get to give our minor leaguers some time to marinate down there, our draft picks to marinate, and they're just good enough to help this franchise moving forward or have a decent season. I would do moves like that, but I wouldn't go into a free agent frenzy. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of guys. I'm not going to say that there's nobody. One guy who I would actually really like to see come is a guy like Kyle Tucker. He's available. He's been a fun guy. We obviously got to watch him play in Houston for years. He is currently injured. He's not on the IL, but he's been sitting the last couple of days in Chicago. Do I see him leaving a market like Chicago? Probably not. But he is a good, respected player. I think he can give us some pop. He gives us some decent defense. I think you could definitely move on. You can move away from Ward if you get a guy like Kyle Tucker. I'm going to be much happier with a guy like Kyle Tucker than Ward. And you have some other guys coming off the books. Go ahead.
However, let's just say if Tucker could play right field or even left field, and you stick would you be okay with this? Ward at DH, you dump Soler somehow, and then you have Trout and right and Tucker, Adele in center and Tucker in left. That's four pretty good power hitters if they stay healthy.
Yeah, that's fair. Trout obviously won't stay healthy the full season. That's no disrespect to him. That's just, as of right now, you got to call a spade, right? He hasn't had a full healthy season.
Real quick, Fernando. By the way, what was the call? Me and you made a prediction on how many games he would play. How many did you say?
Oh God, I'd have to go back. I mean, I think we both probably said just over 100, probably. I mean, people are going to correct us, and that's fine. Please do. But
I think we said between 115 and 120. I think that was our prediction together. It
Yeah,
was
I'll tell
somewhere
you
around
what. I
there.
didn't. I didn't expect that there was a woman who stormed the field yesterday, and she was going to get more field time this year than Rendon. I thought at least the guy would show up for a day.
Hey, the best comment when I posted that was, "I've seen enough. She has to play in center field."
Yeah.
But go
She
ahead. I'm
covers a
sorry to
lot
cut you off.
more. She
Yeah,
covers a lot more ground than Ward does.
it's better to
Okay,
look
real
at
quick.
as
So
well.
we're talking about center field, dude. You were there Monday at the game, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Just like Gavin Carlson. So you guys were there Monday. That was the day that Renhefo had that flub in center, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Please, please, please tell me that the stadium booed the hell out of him.
Oh yeah, yeah. We were all booing. I think our whole section stood up with their hands in the air, like, "What the hell did I just see?" Because the ball came off the bat, with exit velocity, as our boy would love to say, Gooby, but not to where you stand there. I mean,
No,
Renifo didn't move until
yeah,
like he
mhm,
decided to jump and was
terrible.
unfortunately 5 feet shorter than the ball, and then he proceeded to give maximum effort to the ball. So
Yeah, this guy ran like somebody at Costco who's like waddling to get the samples. Quick, quick! He just took him out of the microwave. Waddle, waddle, waddle.
yeah, I mean, look, they had 3 triples that night, 2 of which we gave him.
Yeah,
Renifo gave him 1, and then Taylor Ward,
Ward.
his play was, I think, even worse because he's an established quote unquote left fielder, and it looked like when he was running to the ball, he already had a bad angle, and then he couldn't decide whether he was going to dive or stop and let it bounce, and that's why he had that real weird. I don't even know what to call it. Mishap in the outfield. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, here's the thing. You know what? People dive for balls all the time and they miss it. And you know what? Is it frustrating? Yes, of course. But I can live with that because you tried. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And sometimes that happens. It's the game of inches, right? You're a genius or a jackass. You make that play, everyone's praising you. You miss it, everyone's going to be like, bro, damn it. It's like so what about last week? Bryce Teodisio, your favorite guy, since you love saying his last name so much, um, got thrown out of third base, and everyone was like, "Bro, you can't steal like that. You can't be that aggressive against the Dodgers."
Hmm.
But you know what? I can live with it because Bryce Teodisio is fast, and overall, he's a smart base runner. He makes some mistakes here and there, but sometimes you have to try to play that game because once again, you're a genius or you're a jackass. But
Hmm.
what can't happen is the ball getting past you and then you lazily jog into it like Luis Rengifo. Dude, if I was in charge of this organization, you're getting the grill master right there. You are getting DFA'd
Yeah.
because that is just so lackadaisical and not okay. I don't care what kind of job you have. If you are literally lollygagging like that, that's terrible. I don't care if you're a janitor, McDonald's employee, truck driver, pest control technician, whatever you are. If you're lollygagging to that level, sorry, you got to be replaced.
Yeah, and look what happened too in game 2 yesterday. So you had Ellie De La Cruz on at first base. They hit one past the third baseman. Granted, it's not one that got stuck in the outfield wall and on in left field by the pole. It literally just rolled down the line, and Ward was just lazily jogging to it. And when he finally picks it up, De La Cruz is not even touching third base, bro. Not even touching third base yet, and it's clear he's going home. It's clear you got to get the ball in as quickly as you can. And Wayne is, or not Wayne, Vasgersian is like losing his crap because he's like, oh my God, look how fast he's going. And he goes, there's going to be a play at the plate. And I'm thinking, as soon as he said that, I'm like, no, there's not, because Ward's throwing it. And he throws the noodle arm throw to short. By the time Neto gets it, De La Cruz is almost sliding in already. I'm like, come on. And then Vasgersian was trying to make it like it was an amazing play. It was an amazing hustle, but anybody else out there in left field, Fernando, he could at least make that play challenging. And that's another feather in the cap of us that say, man, that dude does not belong in left field or in the outfield at all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He doesn't have the heart and hustle, and it's a shame because his bat has really come into his own this year.
Yeah.
I'll give the devil his due. He's having an amazing year. Um, I think we need to give him a little bit of credit for the fact of this guy's going to get some MVP votes. Is it going to be a top 3? No, of course not. But I mean, when you're as of right now, he's number 2 in the league or in the American League in runs driven in
Yeah.
and RBIs. So yeah, he's going to get some MVP votes. But he's been a one-dimensional guy. He can hit for power. He can occasionally make contact with the ball, and that's it. He's not fast. He's got no defense. That's what he's got.
If look, his game has improved, Fernando, I'm with you right there because I hate on the guy all the time. I've had to eat crow, and I like I've said on the post game, if I have to eat crow because these players do better than I think, I'm all for it because that means my team wins, your team wins. But there's some stretches here where it's like, man, there was 2 or 3 stretches this season, Fernando, where he was ice cold. Me and you could have got more hits than he did in a 2-week span. He was just ice cold, striking out, just being a waste of an out. And then to see the numbers that he's put up, regardless of those 2 or 3 long prolonged streaks, you think to yourself, man, if he just got a hit here or there and had an average up, I mean, his average would be around 250, 260, really more respectful. He'd probably have a few more home runs and probably 10 to 15 more RBIs. But he's been that kind of frustrating hitter, even in a good year. So, and I think a lot of this stuff gets magnified because he's not playing the DH position. Because I'm telling you, Fernando, if I'm Ray Montgomery and I had a healthy Mike Trout, there's no way I would let Taylor Ward step on the field. If I had to put Campero out there, if I had to put injured Soler, if I had to put Renifo in left field, I'm doing it. I'm not putting Taylor Ward out there.
Yeah, Taylor Ward, I think, would be one of the better DHs in baseball. If he was just a DH, he'd be one of the top guys out there. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, he's produced every year offensively the last couple of years, and he's only getting better. That's not going to last forever, right? I mean, Father Time's undefeated. This guy's what, 32, 33?
Yeah, this might be like his best spurt before he starts to decline.
Yeah, which that's another reason why I'm like, man, you're the Angels. You should probably trade him.
Yeah,
he's got 1 year of control left, and I would not feel comfortable paying this man. Now don't get me wrong. If the Angels sign him on a 5-year deal and he's making literally $1 to $5 million every year, and he's simply a DH, great. You know what I mean? If he truly is one of those guys who's like, hey, I want to be here. Okay, cool. That's fine. But we're not paying you, But no, this guy could easily probably get about 15 to 20 million a year. I mean, especially with how overplayed some of these players are. He's worth what, about 2 or 3 wins himself lately? What's his WAR so far this year?
I don't know, but
screaming at me.
I know he's a lot better than he was. I know that's a dude that he has. Like I said,
2.8.
I said 2.8. See, that's not bad. So yeah, he could easily get himself a 4 to 5 year deal worth at least $100 million, maybe 80 million in between.
Yeah,
and it would be justified. You could literally justify. But like, say for instance, like you said, man, a team like Cincinnati. I would pick a National League team more than an American League team right now because I think most American League teams have a DH in place. But yeah, dude, I could literally see him, just like you said, fit in on one of these teams easily and be just a tremendous, because one thing he's proved me wrong again this year is the fact that he belongs in that 4 spot. I was yelling, I'm like, no, I want this guy down on the lineup more. But no, dude, he's been grinding at that 4 spot, and there's games where he looks to walk. He's been very patient, and so he's not the best base runner, like you said. He's not going to steal bases, but he does put pressure on the defense, whether he gets hits or he gets walks. So it's like, I literally been eating crow, man. I was wrong about him this year. He's having a tremendous season, but just it's not translating defensively. And then when you say, and then we have to pin our hopes as Angels fans, like, can Trout stay healthy? Because that would, give other guys an opportunity. I mean, even if like we hold on because there's a chance we could lose d'Arnaud, but wouldn't it be great to, instead of having that DH spot, plugged up, you could play Ward here and there, and then also play Ohapi and d'Arnaud at the same time instead of having to rest one or the other.
Yeah. I'm already interested in like next season. I'm already, the white flag for this year's kind of already been waved. But I'm interested to see what goes into next season's team. What does Taylor Ward turn into? Is there a chance he gets traded? Can he turn into two or three guys if he is traded? And if not, what's going to be his role next year? That's going to tell us a lot. He's going to be on the final year of control. And if you're in a bubble position like you are next year, you would like to think that that's finally the year the Ward would get traded if he is producing yet again. But we both know that he probably won't. I mean, there's a lot of guys this year around Major League Baseball that are not producing on contract years. That what's his name from the Padres, Dylan Cease? That's a
Mhm.
big name right there. That was one of the biggest guys that people were like, "Oh yeah, he's going to be a free agent after the 2025 season." Having a terrible year. Tyler Anderson having a terrible year. Luis Rengifo had a little bit of a stretch there where he was batting really good. He's starting to come back to earth a little bit. So I mean, Yohan Moncada is surprisingly one of the better names available in the infield next year. He's having an average year, but he's been hurt. So, small sample size. Kenley Jansen's having a good year, but, he's a free agent. Raisel Iglesias, free agent next year. So, there's a couple of these guys that are either having just average seasons, but there's nobody who's going to be a free agent that's having an incredible year. But,
That's true. I got to ask you this question because we got this question right now. Fernando was in our mailbox. And it's addressed to you because I already answered it on the post game. I want to see your thoughts on it. Um, do we, if the Angels decide to, let go of Montgomery and bring in a new staff? Obviously, Montgomery's been with the franchise, I think, since Madden or Osmus. Um, do we clean house, or is there any managers, Fernando, that you like or coaches that you would hold on to or insist that the new regime hold on to?
okay, so the biggest thing is going to be what's going to happen to Perry. So he's got one more year after this year, I believe. He signed an extension.
Mm-hmm.
So is it really worth bringing in a new manager? I don't think Ray Montgomery's that guy, but like the guy that should lead this next generation of Angels. But also, if Perry really is on a 1-year contract and they don't extend him after this year, what's the point? Because we're going to have the same thing that happened last time, right? Where Joe Madden was the guy. Perry was hired. He got stuck with Joe Madden. So all I know is this. If there's no guarantee that Perry is going to stick around after this year, then just keep Ray Montgomery for one more year. What's the point, right? Because I'm just tired of the turnover. Now, for anyone that listened to the interview I did with Ty, he had said the worst thing for the Angels is just this constant turnover. And you've said it, I've said it, a lot of people in this network have said it. If there's going to be a regime change, you need to ride the ship. Now, this Ron Washington thing was not his fault, right? Health issues. He wasn't fired, but he's obviously not coming back. At least he shouldn't come back. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you have to step away due to health reasons, dude, like you're on the tail end of your life. Forget your baseball career. You know what I mean? Enjoy the time you got left with your family. You know what I mean? I would hate for you to die on a baseball field. I know that sounds morbid. I know that sounds terrible, but bro, Todd, the last thing you and I'd ever want to do is die at work.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you
Yeah.
love your job or not, nobody wants to die at work. Enjoy what time you got left with your family, your beautiful family. You know what I mean? You've done a lot for baseball. Ron Washington is one of the most respected names in Major League Baseball ever. So, yeah, guys that I would look at, I really wanted Benji Gill last time. I know you did too. He did great in the World Baseball Classic. And you know what? Todd, there's another World Baseball Classic coming. So if Team Mexico, once again, and Mexico isn't a country that's well known for producing amazing major league talent. Do they have a couple of good, Mexican ball players? Of course. But who's the biggest name to ever come out of Mexico? Fernando Valenzuela, and then what? Adrian Gonzalez is of Mexican descent.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, those
Well,
two.
because I know that he was on the hit, and his brother was the manager of Team Mexico before Benji Gill. But Mexico isn't exactly a country known for developing Shohei Ohtani. You know what I mean? These type of guys. So if Benji
Well,
Gill is able to take the island of misfit toys that was Mexico and get them on another deep run, that's got to mean something. He's managing um, a team down in Mexico. I'm pretty darn sure.
yeah, he's the thing I love about Benji Gill, and I think that would a lot of us fans, including yourself, wanted him because he seemed to just know the game of baseball. He played in that era that we loved. He played for the team that we loved that won the World Series. And then you think about watching Team Mexico play in the World Baseball Classic, there was something to them. Like you said, they didn't have the best talent, but boy, he got every ounce of talent out of them. And again, for a guy that we don't and never saw the best of until that series, and still haven't seen it since, was our pitcher. What's his name? Why is his name always blank? I always want the starting
Patrick
pitcher.
Sandoval.
Yeah, Patrick Sandoval. I always want to call him Sanchez, but Sandoval. Yeah, Sandoval. We have never seen the best before that, and we haven't seen it since. But in that Baseball Classic, he was just, I don't know how to describe him, man. I mean, he had that dog in him, dude, and that whole team did. I mean, they were. I still think they got screwed in the loss to Japan. I mean, they had him too. They
Yeah,
were,
yeah. Mexico really had a chance to advance there.
yeah. So I would welcome Benji Gill with open arms. I'd be like, yeah, man. I mean, I think you're the perfect guy to get what's best out of this team.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So let's just say you do go with a guy like Benji Gill, somebody who doesn't have major league management experience. He's done it at the World Baseball Classic. He just got done with the Charros de Jalisco and
Oh,
their season. Mexican Baseball League. You know what? He's still managing, right? So that counts as something, in my opinion. He's familiar with our organization. He's well loved by the fans because he was a key bench piece in
yep,
2002. Um, and you know what? That could be also something else beneficial, right? Helping some of these young guys get to that mindset of, hey, how can I be productive in a game that I didn't start in? How can I move the needle even though I'm getting one at bat, or I'm coming in the sixth, seventh inning just for some defensive replacement? Maybe he can get the best out of those guys. But all I know is no matter who they get, Todd, you got to sign them to a 3 to 5 year contract, maybe a 3 year deal with the fourth and fifth year option, because I'm tired of just this revolving door. Since Mike Sosha, we haven't had consistency.
no, it's 100% right. And to play off the comment you said about Benji Gill getting the most, and helping these young guys. Um, with him being humble and having that humble career and working into a World Series that's why people like Darren Erstad too, because these are guys that were gamers. Both these guys were not afraid to get their jerseys dirty, torn, get bloody. They were all about team first. They did whatever the team needed them to do. They prioritized every at bat. They played like it was their last at bat. And I think that's what you kind of want in your manager to instill into these players, because some of these players come up here with big heads. Either they sign an international contract because they're good from where they came from and they think the league's going to hand them whatever they want, or they're a guy who comes over like Rendon with a big ass ego and thinks he's top notch and doesn't have to try very hard. I would love for the culture to change and you get a Benji Gill saying, hey, man, you got to fight for your position. You got to fight to play. You got to do the work. You got to put in the workout. You got to put in the practice. And I think that pays off for teams that are gritty, teams that don't have the talent to compete with the Yankees and Dodgers, but have the mindset and the willpower to do so and find that extra level that they may not have thought they had because they believe. And I think that's part of it. Like, I don't know if you've noticed either, Fernando, and I would want a manager at a 5 year deal as well, because we do need stability. But I don't know if you've noticed one good thing this year is when the Angels do win, you notice all the young guys have their hats on backwards when they're doing the high five. That's a good little culture thing that's starting, and I'm hoping little things like that carry over to the importance of winning and getting your brothers back.
Yeah, I guess I've never noticed that, but yeah, now that you bring it up, they always untuck the jerseys and yeah, they have the hats
Yeah,
backwards, kind of like Little League. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so one thing I want to ask you about, we talked a little bit about it off air, but in closing here, I want to ask about your opinion on Rob Manfred talking about potential realignment. Now, I told you there was a post I saw where, like, the speculation, of course, this is all speculatory, people, when I'm
Mhm.
reporting anything here, that the Angels could potentially move to the NL and join the Dodgers, Padres, and Diamondbacks and have a division with those four. Um, so let's start off with A. Do you like the idea of realignment? I think we've all kind of agreed that it's probably going to happen at some point.
Yeah, because going back to the days when I first started watching baseball, I think there was 8 or 9 teams per division. There was only 2 divisions, and that kinda sucked because it made it almost impossible to make the playoffs. Only the top teams would make it. So, I'm all for realignment. I really am.
And with the potential realignment, how do you feel about the Angels if they were to move to the National League? And how would you feel with them being rivals with Arizona, the Dodgers, and the Padres? Would that be good for baseball? Would it be good for us?
I actually think it would okay, so I have 2 thoughts on that. I initially think that it would be good for the Angels. I think they do better when they play the Nationals outside the Reds, the National League in general. They've always had a good record against the National League. But and then playing the Dodgers and the Padres, great regional rivalries. Playing them 4 times a year, home and away twice, that would be pretty cool. Diamondbacks, not so much, but still, you would have that whole appeal of going to Arizona and back and forth and stuff like that. Second thought on that is I don't think it's going to happen. I honestly think that this is pure speculation. Like for me, if there was a franchise to come into Portland, I because that's what they're talking about too. I know they Nashville and others, but Nashville's
Yep.
most like
Portland, Salt Lake, Nashville, and then what? Charlotte?
yeah, and possibly outside looking in Montreal because I think Orlando's going to eventually get Tampa Bay.
Okay.
That's why I've been hearing. But my thing is, if that the most likely realignment would be a Portland, Seattle, Vegas, Angels, Western Division, because I think it's like we talked before, Fernando. It's like the NFL. The NFL loves rivalries, and I know the Angels would bring some heat to the Dodgers and vice versa, but they like tradition, and I just don't see them separating the Giants and Dodgers. I don't see it. The Giants have to come in that package. San Diego's a heated rivalry that has to be there. I believe Arizona. I mean, maybe the Angels would sneak in the Arizona spot, but I doubt it. I think Arizona would remain, and then you'd have like a Midwest division if Utah came in with like Colorado, and then because in the NFL, I mean, like I said, like they still had the Rams in St. Louis in the Western Division because of the rivalry with the Niners, and they still had the Cowboys in Dallas. They still have them there uh, in Dallas when they play supposedly in the East. So there's tradition and rivalries that these leagues value, and I think the baseball will be the same thing. I just don't see them breaking that up.
Yeah, I don't understand why I mean, I understand why now we do, but the fact that there's two Texas teams in the West is like, Texas is A, the Central, and B, the South.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's really, it's not West at all. But,
Y-
who else would you have in there for now? You know what I
I
mean?
I think if you had the Central, you'd keep it Houston and Texas, and maybe have you'd probably put the White Sox in there, and I get and Kansas City. I
Kansas
think that
City.
might be the Central. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at some point we're gonna see a realignment for sure in the next 10-ish years for sure.
Hmm.
If not, who knows? Maybe even the next collective bargaining agreement. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to really depend on those expansion teams because I do think that's going to be something brought up in the collective bargaining agreement. Like, right? Hey, is the Players Association okay with two expansion teams? And I mean, they're not going to say no. That's more
Hmm.
players. That's more money. That's more revenue. That's more for the agents. Like everybody wins with expansion, and I
Especially,
believe it needs to happen. Baseball, I don't know why they haven't expanded.
yeah, they've been the least. I think your boy Brody Brazil brought that up. Like the baseball really hasn't expanded in a very long time. I know hockey's been the most relevant expansion wise. But I
The
already
NBA
know.
hasn't expanded in my lifetime either, has it? I was born in '95.
Uh, I want to say no. They did do the Grizzlies and Raptors. Was it? I could be wrong on that one. Well, the Bobcats, I know they expanded. They came in, but that's after.
Yeah, because they were the New Orleans, right? Yeah, so 2004 was the Charlotte Bobcats. That was the latest expansion team.
I just know that you got a group already together with Barry Larkin with the Orlando Dream, a stadium that all they need is the go for a team, and they'll start building right next to Disney World. Nashville has a spot already reserved. They've got the people in place, so you got two ownerships ready to roll. And I think you're going to get a third with, like you said, Portland or Utah or Montreal, because I just the one that's going to nab the first team is Orlando, and I think they're going to steal Tampa, because it's Tampa had to use that money they were going to use to rebuild the Trop for the city to rebuild from the hurricane. So yeah, I believe you're going to have a team in Orlando. It's going to be the Rays, and that's going to be exciting. It'll be good for baseball because you'll have a lot more fan attendance and finally have something to go for. You could do Disney World just like here. You could do Disneyland and the Angels. You could do the Orlando team and Disney World. It's literally going to be connected to Disney World. So that's pretty cool. I like the idea too, Fernando. And like you said, I think that's going to be part of the what is it called? The plan for the owners to the players. Like, hey, man, you can make more money. Just agree to these terms here with a salary floor, maybe a cap, and maybe I doubt that'll pass, but just
Yeah.
Something like that. It's going to be helpful for players because these guys can prolong their careers, and it could bring in more international players as well.
Yeah, I definitely know that there's going to be a lockout. You and I are both calling that. How
Yeah.
long? Who knows? But the owners really, really want that salary cap. It seems like most of them do. Rob Manfred does. I don't think the players would say no to a floor. That's only better for them. But once again, if you're the owners, you have to get them both because that's your only leverage, right? Oh well, we'll implement a floor so you guys get more money, but there needs to be a cap. And the players are going to be like, no, we don't want a cap because it's less money. Oh, but you guys want more money. That's what the point of the floor. So I think that's going to be the point of contention there. So we'll see what happens. And we're probably going to have at least a couple months when we're expecting baseball to talk about it because there's going to be a lockout, man.
Oh yeah. Here's my idea, Fernando. I think you can get a floor and a ceiling, but you would, with the new baseball agreement streaming or whatever platform they get, the money that they would get for their the TV rights. I would say for every year that you're a part of, made the major league roster, you get a percentage of the on the top, the percentage of the money from the TV contracts. I think they should whittle down some money to the players like that as an incentive. That way, you're the years that you're active, that keeps you active. You want to stay active because you're getting a piece of the pie every, the revenue sharing, not like something crazy that goes to the owners, but the players that play, especially a minimum, amount of games. So you can't do an Anthony Rendon, play a week and then be done for the year. But let's just say you play half the season, you get a little something off the top as extra incentive. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, they're going to have to toy with a couple of ideas for sure. But yeah, I don't hate that idea.
Yeah, I said I don't want to see baseball gone for a year, just like you don't. And I think the fans have seen that baseball's grown internationally. It's regional ratings are up, national ratings are up. Because obviously the media sometimes doesn't want to report on the good from baseball, but when you don't hear news about the ratings, it's good. And so if you look into the numbers, the ratings have been up nationally on the weekends, the game of the week, even on ESPN. For some reason, people are still watching it over there. So it's good for baseball. Lockout, not so much, man. I just wish they would go into it a little early this year and be like, how can we avoid this?
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm worried about. I mean, last time we had what, like a lockout for like 2 weeks, was it?
Yeah, and it
It didn't
still
last
hurt,
very long.
but it still hurt baseball because you didn't have the spring training. You had to start late. So yeah, it
Yeah, you had
wasn't.
some of those double headers in the very, very early goings.
Yeah, not good, man. It wasn't good baseball either. These guys weren't
Yeah,
exactly expecting to play, so they weren't in shape.
yeah. But all right, man. That's what I got. Todd, anything else?
Uh, just the fact that we always go into this thing with very few thoughts, and it turns into an almost an hour show. So that's good chemistry, my friend.
Yeah, we've done this long enough that we don't really, we have a brief idea, but we've also done a couple times where we just kind of shoot from the hip. So
Yeah, true. But good show, man. And obviously news coming up about September 20th softball. We need that team, that Heedy team together. It might cost a couple bucks, meaning literally a couple bucks, like 15, 20 bucks, but I'll put the link out there so we could play. We got the Ohapi bowling thing. If you guys are interested in bowling with Heedy over there and meeting some of the players at his charity event. That's all I got, Fernando.
well, yeah, and while you're at it, guys, give us a 5-star review. Let us know how we're doing. If there's something we can change, let us know. If you have any hot takes, send them our way. If you have any kind of question of the day, send them our way. I know this is time of year where we're basically just doing report cards now, so look out for that. Let us know whatever it is. Right now, we're doing the FanDuel Sports Network broadcasters and then we'll be doing the coaching staff, followed by the players. So participate in that every single day on either X or Instagram. And then thank you to our sponsor, 714 Tickets. Use code HITI at checkout, HITI, for 10% off their already low prices with no hidden fees like the other guys. Head on over to Brewheim. Mention Halos in the Infield for some drink specials. The LC Dugout's always doing some fun autograph signings, and they have some great memorabilia. Head on over there. Let them know that Todd and Fernando say hello. And then, of course, if you have a small business, whether it's an Etsy shop or a business of any kind, hit up our friends at Max Market Pros. Let them know we sent you, and they'll help you get to the top of things like Google, which we all know are beneficial.
Way to go with those. You knocked those out of the park real quick. You went around the bases faster than Ellie De La Cruz. So
There you
pretty
go.
nice.
I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So for Todd Fox and the one and the only,
Lone Star Halo.
there you go. We'll see you later.